by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
I'm Laura Podesta in Parkland, Florida, where officials are working today to identify all of the people killed in yesterday's school shooting. Plus, we have new information about the shooting suspect.
Good morning. We're glad to have you here 6:31 on this snowy Thursday, and this is our top story, an ongoing one as well. Investigators continue to look into why the 19-year-old suspect at a deadly Florida school shooting opened fire, killing 17 people yesterday, injuring 14 others.
Yeah, we're learning more about his recent troubled past. Laura Podesta is in Parkland, Florida with the latest. We must warn you, some of the video you're about to see is graphic.
As the school day ended, police say 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz fired a hail of bullets into classrooms at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Bullet holes can be seen on this laptop computer in the classroom.
He went up and down the hallway, just banging and shooting into the classrooms. He shot through my door. I think about 3 in my classroom got hurt. I just saw blood everywhere.
Cruz was heavily armed with what is believed to have been an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. Law enforcement sources say shortly after he entered the school, he pulled the fire alarm.
He got us out of our classroom slowly and in a large group of unprotected targets.
Cruz was picked up off campus without incident. Last night, investigators searched the home where the 19-year-old was staying. A lawyer representing the family that lives there says Cruz was not related to them. They took him in about 3 months ago after his adopted mother passed away. His adopted father also died some time ago.
Other than maybe he was a little depressed because of the mother situation, seemed absolutely normal. They are shocked, cannot believe this. Apparently he had some problems at the school earlier, some fighting, but nobody saw this coming.
Law enforcement confirms Cruz had been expelled from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School for, quote, disciplinary reasons. One classmate who is counting her blessings says she spoke to Cruz as he was walking out with the evacuating students.
He was trouble in middle school, so I kind of joked to him about it and said, I'm surprised you weren't the one who did it. And he just gave me a huh?
Authorities say they will be looking at Cruz's social media accounts as they try to piece together why this happened. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Now, President Trump, after tweeting his offer of prayers for the families of the victims, received several responses on Twitter from students at the school asking instead for tighter gun control legislation. That's our breaking news this morning.
Tough story for Valentine's Day, too. You know, you just think about
for sure.
Every Valentine's Day in the future for those poor families.
Just as Montana This Morning has been on for just a little bit over an hour, the snow has intensified out there a lot. It's coming down pretty good right now.
We're going to have to deal with some snow for the morning. Be sure to leave some extra time. That's a lookout. I'll be out there here shortly on the Billion Auto Weather patio.
All by yourself.
Love you guys. Civil emergency watch out. I haven't seen this in my time of broadcasting for winter weather situation. We are talking some extreme driving conditions farther to the north and east. We are also seeing some scattered snow showers. Wind chill, a big factor for us. Some areas dropping below zero. We don't see a lot of low-level coverage on our radar. That's why we see the snow on the screen, not on the radar. That's something that you can get right here. Only it looks like we're going to be dealing with scattered snow showers off and on through the morning hours. We'll talk more about what the impact is throughout the day in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt. Our top local story for you now. A pretrial hearing was held yesterday in Gallatin County Justice Court on fish and game charges against Republican U.S. Senate candidate Troy Downing. Downing is facing 9 misdemeanor charges, including 7 charges of attempting to obtain resident hunting and fishing licenses while a non-resident, and for helping his son obtain a resident license. Now, the judge set Downing's trial for May 23rd, 24th, and 25th. 30 jurors have been requested for the trial. Downing, a businessman living in Big Sky, is one of 4 Republicans vying for the party's nomination to take on Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Tester. Meantime, businessman from Belgrade, who has been running for the U.S. Senate, said he is dropping out of the race. Ron Murray has been campaigning since last summer in the crowded field of Republicans who want to take on Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Tester. But in a post on his Facebook campaign page, Murray says that he hasn't been able to raise as much money, and that's been a problem. Murray says he doesn't believe he has the resources to win the crowded primary, so he's dropping out and endorsing State Senator Al Olszewski of Kalispell. Murray says the media are only interested in candidates with money and that he's not a rich guy who can fund his own campaign like other candidates have been able to.
That's great that these guys can, give themselves this kind of money to get things up and going. But at the same time, if we're going to be looking at taking back our country and having fiscal responsibility, these races should not cost millions and millions of dollars. It's absolutely absurd and insane that we are spending that kind of money to win and put into a political race.
And that primary election is less than 4 months away, happening on June 5th.
In other headlines this morning, members of the Buffalo Field campaign got together yesterday at the Bozeman Public Library as part of its week of action. Organization's goal is to stop the slaughter of bison, specifically Yellowstone National Park. The campaign is also trying to stop the hunt of buffalo on the borders of the park. This week in February, the campaign makes stops throughout Montana to promote its mission.
Hopes that we can gain more habitat for these buffalo and stop the slaughter, the senseless slaughter, and have buffalo restore themselves on their native lands in Montana and elsewhere.
By the way, the group will continue their week of action today in Helena and then on Saturday in West Yellowstone.
Dr. Frank Gilmore, the 10th Chancellor of Montana Tech, passed away on Wednesday morning. Dr. Gilmore helped bring the well-known Montana Arch to the school, and in his honor, the university will light the arch with Montana Tech green. Staying in the mining city, Butte residents about to get more parking uptown. The city is ready to open up its $7 million parking garage on West Park Street today. The multi-level 240-space facility will offer free parking until April 17th to allow people to get accustomed to using the parking garage. And state health officials are planning another approach on how to handle funding cuts for services for more than 2,000 mentally disabled people in Montana. State wants to cut $2.5 million from case management services for the developmentally disabled. Right now, 4 private nonprofits do the work for on contract, helping developmentally disabled people live on their own, in their own communities and around the state. Back in December, the state announced that it would cancel the contracts and take over the job itself. Now, state officials tell MTN News that they plan to move one statewide contractor for the services with a yet-to-be-determined company. Now, one of those current providers, Opportunity Resources in Missoula, said on Wednesday that it will take a look at the contract proposal and consider a bid.
If a state case manager came in and they had to start all over with these families and clients, it's going to be very detrimental. If they hired someone in this area, there would be less travel, so the quality of care would look better. If they hired someone from Billings to do this area, they're not going to get near the quality of care because a lot of their time is going to be traveling, and they're not going to have as much time to get to know these clients and families as well.
Now, the contract with the current providers expires on March 31st.
Well, not only was yesterday Valentine's Day, it was also Ash Wednesday, and some ministers in Butte took to the streets to perform the traditional ashing mark ceremony. For the past 3 years, a group of religious leaders have been holding an Ashes on the Street ceremony by standing out near Montana and Broadway to perform the ritual on anyone who wanted it. It's a way of making it easier for people on the go.
Got the idea from a pastor in San Francisco who started doing this, and she realized that there were lots of people who couldn't make it to church on Ash Wednesday, so we're like bringing church to them.
Pastors were able to mark more than 15 people yesterday afternoon, by the way.
That's pretty cool.
Nicely done. That's great.
Take it to the streets. Make it convenient. It is time for a quick break and maybe perhaps a cup of coffee. Dana Jacobson is in the Olympic Village in South Korea, where spectators are not only enjoying the games, but an array of food and one fine cup of coffee. We have that story for you in just a moment.
But first, let's check in with Nora O'Donnell, see what's coming up at 7 o'clock on CBS this morning.
Hey, good morning to you. Ahead here on CBS this morning, we'll hear stories of heroism and survival from students who witnessed that deadly Florida school shooting. We're also going to talk with one of the suspected shooter's former teachers who was locked in his classroom with students during the attack. Can you imagine? And Dr. Tara Narula shows us how your workplace could be a breeding ground for the flu. So we'll show you some of the areas that could be most contaminated and the best ways to try and reduce your chances of getting sick. We'll see you right at 7.